Welcome back to the Field of 68's Offseason Grades series. Today, we talk about the Auburn Tigers. Rob Doster's here. I am Greg Waddell, but more importantly, here's the names that are in and out for Auburn. Quite a bit of turnover. Wendell Green is gone. Alan Flanagan is out. Zep Jasper is out. Johan Freore is out. Chance Westry is out. There's some talent in that group of names that I just said. Rob, coming back, Jalen Williams, Johnny Broome, Dylan Cardwell, KD Johnson. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now. Nightmare Fuel himself is back. And then newcomers, Aden Holloway, one of the most electric guards in this class, is in. Denver Jones, 20 points last year at FIU, is in. And Chaney Johnson as well, 15 points per game at Alabama Huntsville last season. Look, on paper, a lot of movement, as I mentioned. There is still a lot of talent on this roster. Some of that includes the newcomers. There's a lot of kind of under the radar newcomers as well. I mentioned two guys that just were absolute bucket getters at a smaller level, now find themselves potentially in big roles in the SEC. Rob, where does this offseason begin for you?
I think the first and foremost, it begins with the turnover in the backcourt that Auburn had. Wendell Green is gone. There were times during the last 2 years where we lamented that Wendell Green didn't quite realize that he was Wendell Green and not Steph Curry. I think if you look at the arc of this program from 2022 until now, they had Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, maybe the best front line in the sport, were a number 1 seed, won the SEC regular season title in 2022, and then basically got like Walmart brand Walker Kessler and Johnny Broome, who was a very good player, and we'll talk about that in a second, and went from Jabari Smith to Jalen Williams. Again, very good player, but we'll talk about that in a second, while keeping that exact same backcourt. And last season, what you saw was what it looks like when you don't have an elite front court and guards that you can't really trust playing a Bruce Pearl style of play. And I think what they did this offseason, two things that were really important. One, they got Jalen Williams and Johnny Broome back. And I think that is going to be one of the more underrated front lines in college basketball. And they went out and they changed what their perimeter is going to look like. I think bringing in Aden Holloway is going to be enormous. Bruce Pearl raves about him. Bruce Pearl references Jared Harper quite a bit when talking about him. And the one thing that you can kind of count on Bruce for is he is going to make his point clear without maybe necessarily like saying what you need to be able to say specifically, like ripping a guy, but he'll make you understand like how valuable the dude is. And he really likes Aden Holloway. And I think that bringing in Denver Jones is just another guy in the backcourt that can go and get you a bucket. Chad Baker Mazzara, the kid that's transferring in from JUCO, he was at Northwest Florida last year, scored 17 points in the second round of the NCAA tournament for San Diego State as a freshman. He's a big 6'7" athletic wing that can shoot the hell out of it. So I think what you see this year from Auburn is a team where you have guys that are going to be a little bit more suited for the roles that come with playing in a Bruce Pearl system. And I think that are going to end up being better than they were at those roles a year ago. So I like this team. I like the way that it's set up. And I like the fact that they are coming in without any kind of expectation whatsoever. I think that there is a top 5 in the SEC, and I would not put Auburn in that top 5 right now, but I think that they have a chance. It's like them and Florida are the next teams in the SEC that really have a chance to be able to make a run. I think they'll be a tournament team. I think that they will be in and around the top 25 for much of the year. And I think that they are going to be one of those teams where they're a 7 seed and the 2 seed just does not want to see them in the NCAA tournament.
Can I ask you this? Who's the best player on this team?
Johnny Broome.
Who's the second best player on this team?
Jalen Williams. I think Jalen Williams is going to have a big year. There's 2 things. There's 2 reasons I say that. One is that he is going to be asked to play a more aggressive role at the 4 spot. He averaged 11 points, 5 boards, 2.5 assists, shoots it pretty well from 3. And I think with the added level of adjustment that Janai is going to have at the 5 spot after transferring in from Morehead State, I think that this is going to be a really good front line. Maybe not the number one front line in college basketball like they were 2 years ago, but I think that they're like top 15-ish. I think Jalen Williams is a guy that is, he's 23 years old now. He's 6'8", 230 pounds. He can pass the ball. He can defend. He can rebound. I think he's a very good role player that's going to be asked to play a bigger role this season. And then you combine that with the one thing I really like about them, Greg, is what made UConn so dominant at the 5 spot was the way that they could go from Adama Sanogo to Donovan Clingan, play one guy 25 minutes, the other guy 15 minutes, and you have a very good 5-man giving you 100%, not caring about fouls at all, because they could just go out there and go hard for the time that they're out there. And I think you'll see that with Janai and Dylan Cardwell. And the best quote I've gotten in the offseason while preparing for the Almanac, by the way, you can buy the Almanac at the link in the description below, was that Kate was about Katie Johnson. And this is what Bruce Pearl said. Katie's always been a guy that can giveth and that can taketh away. But this summer, he's been givething more and takething away less. So,
I mean, that's a Hall of Fame quote. It just
Hall of Fame
is.
quote.
I mean, Bruce Pearl is also prone to giving those from time to time. Big Bruce Pearl fan here. Oh man, I don't know where to begin with this group. I really don't, because I think they're the most unpredictable roster that we've done in this series. This is our 9th video doing this, and you could tell me this team is like a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, competes for the SEC. I would absolutely buy it. You could tell me this team barely makes the NIT, and I would buy it. I just think there's such a wide range of outcomes here. I'm glad you answered my question the way you did, because it has successfully steered me to one side here. And once again, I get to be the pessimist here, Rob. If those are the best 2 players, if their front court is the front court here, I don't love that for this team. I don't love turnover in the backcourt. I don't love a bunch of guys that are coming up from lower levels that have never played against athletes they're going to play against in the SEC, that speed. It scares me. Now, there is a lot of talent there. There's a lot of production there as well. They got a bunch of guys who scored 15 or more points per game coming in to fill those roles. And then they got one of the most talented freshman guards in the country in Holloway. Like the smart money would be on one of those guys hitting. It's just really scary to me that there's a big adjustment curve there. And I think the guy you mentioned, Katie Johnson, let's move to X factors, is the X factor here. Because
I disagree. To me, the X factor is Aden Holloway for every reason that you just mentioned, because they don't have those questions in the backcourt. And the thing about Bruce Pearl guards is they got to have nuts the size of coconuts, right? They got to have the balls to be able to take and make tough shots. The most important thing there is make the tough shots. If you look at what Jared Harper did in the year that they made the Final Four and won the SEC tournament, if you look at the way that Bryce Brown played, if you look at what Samir Dowdy was, if you look at those kinds of guys when Bruce Pearl had them and we had the best Auburn that we can get, you had guards that made tough shots from like 25 feet and out. And that's what Aden Holloway is, man. The way that Bruce described him to me was, if he can see the rim, he can make the shot. Right. So I think that he is a much better fit than Wendell Green, who, if he can see the rim, will take the shot. Does that make sense? And I get what you're saying about the up transfers, but like Denver Jones is a guy that one, played in a good league in Conference USA and averaged 20 points, couple assists, couple rebounds. He's long. I think he's good enough to be able to average like 10 points, right? And if you get 10 points out of him, you get 11 or 12 out of Katie Johnson, and you get Aden Holloway as a guy that like every 3rd or 4th game does enough to win games for you. I think you're looking at a team that can be good. Now, let's put this all into the context, right? Last year, Auburn was 21-13. They were 10-8 in the SEC. They finished as a 9 seed, and they finished 32nd in KenPom overall adjusted offensive overall rankings, right? I think that they are going to be marginally better than that. So like when I say I like their offseason, I think they're going to go to like a 23-10 team, 11-7 maybe in the SEC, and a team that'll be like in the mid to low 20s on KenPom, 7 or 8 seed, a threat to pick off somebody and do what Arkansas did this past season. So like, I'm not saying that they're going to go out and win the SEC, but I think that they're going to be better than they were a year ago, but not good enough to necessarily be a national title contender. But I do think they have the upside that they'll be able to pick people off, just because I think that the guards that they have will actually be shot makers and not just shot takers, and their bigs are only going to get better. Like I don't think Janai Broom's going to get worse. I don't think Jalen Brown's going to get, or Jalen Williams is going to get worse, right? So it'll be interesting. We'll see what ends up happening with this group.
Yeah, the shot maker, shot taker line is nice. That's a bar. We should put it on a t-shirt, all of that. Shout out to Bruce Pearl. I can tell you probably just got off the phone with him like 2 hours ago, would be my guess, based on how many snippets you're throwing my way right now.
It was 2 weeks ago. I'm just reading my notes very well.
I think it's giving Holloway a lot of credit to define him as a take and make guy. We don't know that, right? Like we have no idea until we see it.
Right.
And that's the entire season hinges on that, is all I'm saying. That's scary to me. And now, is it scarier than it hinging on Wendell Green? Probably not. So in that sense, it's fair to say you like what they did this offseason. I just wish there were more proven options somewhere. And when you talk about the transfer portal, to me, like they went very high risk with their portal moves this season, in my opinion. And that's coming from probably the most antagonistic up transfer point guard guy there is, Rob. Like, I've just seen it bite teams too much. Teams that have a ton of talent around them, when you're relying on a guy who scored 20 points a game at a lower level that now has to come into arguably the best conference in college basketball.
The only thing I'd push back is that I wouldn't say that they went high risk, because I don't think that Denver is going to be their point guard. I think Denver is going to be their scoring option, right? I think Aden Holloway is going to be their air quotes point guard, right? And beyond that, I think Bruce is trusting that he has the stars already committed, right? I think he's buying into what Aden Holloway will be. I think he's buying into Katie Johnson improvement, and I think he's buying into improvement from Jalen Williams and Janai Broom. And the other guys he brought in, like the thing about Chad Baker-Mazara is that, like, they beat Kentucky for him, right? Like, this is a 6'7" wing that went to, I'm not even sure exactly why he went to JUCO, but he had success at San Diego State as a freshman, beat out a lot of those guys for minutes that played in the Final Four last year. Length, athleticism, 6'7", shoots it. Like, so I do think that one other thing that we're going to see is a team where that swarming defense is a little bit more impactful than it was last season. Like, I think they're going to be a better forcing turnovers kind of a team and better rebounding the ball. But like, all that said, I still don't think that they're top 5 in the SEC. Like, I think that they're going to be good. I think they're going to be a tournament team. And I think that they're going to have games where they beat somebody they're not supposed to beat. They might also lose to LSU at home, right? Like, that's just kind of what it's the nature of the way that Bruce Pearl plays as it is. But there's a little bit of, okay, Caleb Love is gone. That in and of itself is a good thing for North Carolina, with Wendell Green being gone from Auburn.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and it's not the first or the last time we'll find ways to compare those two. Look, Baker-Mazara, I think you're right. There's promise there. This is his 4th school in 4 years. Duquesne, San Diego State, JUCO here. Like, it's a lot, right? I don't know how any of these guys are wired. I don't know the backstories of who they are as people. Maybe Bruce Pearl absolutely nailed this. It just seems like a volatile group, a talented group, but a volatile group to me that you don't have a proven option with at all, except for KD, which is why he's my X factor. I think you already gave us your expectations. You gave us like a 9 seed. So let's just go straight to grades. What's your grade for this Auburn offseason?
I give it like a B-. I think it's right there with Creighton for me. Like, there's nothing there that really will change their season beyond losing a guy that I think that they could afford to have lost. But they also brought back the pieces that Bruce wanted to bring back. And overall, I think that they are going to be a little bit better than they were this past season, which was a 9 seed making the NCAA tournament. So it's not a home run. This isn't like, any team. This isn't like, who did we just do? This isn't an
Carolina,
right? This isn't like North Carolina where they They were able to get their stars back and added the pieces you absolutely need to be able to develop, but like they didn't get worse. So, I mean, it's just for me, it's kind of status quo. And when you're hinging your season on the either having Katie Johnson be like giveth not taketh thing away as much, that's really hard to say. A 6-foot freshman coming in and being dominant and an up transfer, like you're not exactly guaranteed to have a ton of success in a league where there's 5 really good teams at the top. So it was fine. It was good. They're not going to be awful. They're not going to be great. They're going to be relevant the whole year. We're going to be talking about Bruce Pearl, and when they get big wins, he's going to come on our show and have fun with it. That's kind of what this Auburn team is, and it's what they were last year.
Yeah, I can guarantee that will happen. You're correct there. I'm going to take the easy way out here, Rob. I'm giving them a flat C. I still have no idea what to make with this. I think this could be a total home run. They could end up having the best offseason any team in the country had. They could have the worst. I genuinely think both those outcomes are possible here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to commit to one side and look stupid in 3 months. So you can criticize me for taking the easy way out more than you can criticize me for being totally wrong here about Auburn. They get a C from me. If you want more of our offseason grades series, you can find all the videos on the Field of 68 YouTube channel. We're doing this for every top 25 team as it stands right now in the offseason, plus a handful of others that we are very excited to talk about. For Rob Doster, my name is Greg Waddell. We'll see you next time.
Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field68, FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks.